Good day. Our group will now video demonstrate how to configure the Windows Server 2016. First, let's open the Network and Sharing Center on the lower right. Click Change Adapter Setting and then the Ethernet. Click Properties. And here choose the Internet Protocol version 4. And here make sure to uncheck the IP version 6, which we didn't do, but we will fix it later. Here type the calculated IP address using subnetting. 90.157.64. For our default gateway, 141.90.157.71. Click OK. Uh, Let us now go to the local server and rename the computer name to server. It is case sensitive, so capital should be capital in the configuration later on. After clicking OK, the computer will ask you to restart to apply the changes. After restarting, let us now install the Active Directory domain services. Open the Server Manager and click Add Roles and Features. Click Skip Page by default and click Next. Next again. Next. Here check the Active Directory domain service. Add features and continuously click Next until the install button can be clicked. Let's install. Click Install and wait for it to finish. After installing, click the Promote the server to a domain controller. Add a new forest and enter the root domain name, which is in this case group4.com. Click Next. Here we enter the password for the server and again to confirm it. Continuously click Next again. Next. Next. Then the computer will force to restart again. Let us wait for it to restart. After restarting, the domain name has been changed to group4. Then enter the password for the server to log in. Now we will configure the DNS, but first check the IP address again. Under the Network and Sharing Center, change adapter settings, Ethernet, Properties. The prepared DNS has gone back to default. Just type it back again. Okay. Okay. Let's- After closing all the windows, click the Tools tab on the top and choose DNS. Tools, DNS. Click the server and the reverse lookup zones. Right click and then click New Zone. New Zone. Next, next, next. Here make sure that the IPv4 is selected, and here we enter the IP address excluding the fourth octet 141.90.157. Click the reverse lookup zone name and continuously click next until it finishes. Next, next. Under the reverse lookup zones, click the folder below and then right click. Click new pointer. Here add the remaining part of the IP address. Then add the host name, which is the name of the computer, and the domain name, which is server.group4.com. Okay. To check if the input is correct, right click the server and then click Launch NS Lookup. Launch NS Lookup. Here, the Launch NS Lookup gave us JVRS result, so to fix it, we go to the Ethernet properties again and then uncheck the IPv6 and do the NSS configuration again. Ethernet properties. Uncheck the IPv6 to avoid conflict and click OK. Close. After doing all the DNS configuration again, now the launch NS lookup give us the correct input for the default server and the address, which is server.group4.com and 141.90.157.64. Now let's close all the windows.
We will now move on to the creation of the DHCP server. So go to the dashboard and click Add Roles and Features. Continuously click Next until you arrive at the selection of server roles. This, you can select the DHCP server, then add features, then click Next, and then click Next again, and then Next again, and then click the installation button and wait for the DHCP server to finish installing. Once it finishes installing, it will restart the computer, and we can check the flag to complete the DHCP server configuration. To do this, click the flag and then click the DHCP configuration. Click Next, and then click Commit. Now that the DHCP is created and done, we will now go to the DHCP from the Tools tab on the upper right. we'll create a DHCP range for the IP addresses that will be used by the client side. So click Tools, click DHCP, then click the server.group4.com and right click on the IPv4 and select New Scope. Click Next and select a name for the scope that will be used by the client's IP address. Click Next. Now we will enter the IP address range that we computed from this subnetting. That is 141.90.157.65 and the end IP address is 141.90.157.70. Now click Next until you arrive at the Finish button. Click Next again. And click Next again. And select Finish. Now we have created a scope of IP addresses that will be used by the client side. Now to check if the DHCP that we created is correct, we will now log into the client. But first we need to log in the server. Now after logging in on the server, we can now see on the client side on the right side that it is already in the same domain. And to check if the IP address is correct, we will right click and open Network and Sharing Center and then click Change Adapter Settings. Double click on the internet and then click Details. Here we can see that the IPv4 address is the first one on the range, which is 141.90.157.65. Now that the DHCP is correct and properly working, we will now go back to the server. After going back to the server side, we will now create a storage for a new drive. To do this, right-click on the window icon and select Disk Management. And select the C drive and then right-click and then shrink volume. Then we will enter a 5 gigabytes worth of storage, and that will be allocated for the folder redirection that will be used later. Click Shrink. And then to register the drive, we have now a 5 gigabyte worth of unallocated space. Now right click, click New Simple Volume, and then click Next, 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 and then Finish. This will now create a new drive that is named New Volume. Now we will open the library and navigate to this PC icon that we can see on the left side of the navigation. Now we wait. Now we can see here that the new volume E is created with the 5 gigabytes of storage. And inside new volume, we will create a users folder. And inside the users folder, we will now create a cashier folder that will be used later on in folder redirection.
After creating the folder, click Add Roles and Features again. Just wait for it to load up. In the Installation Type tab, just leave it by default, then click Next. In the Server Selection tab also, leave it by default, then click Next. And in here, find the File Server Resource Manager under the File and Storage Services and check it. Click Add Features, then click Next. Here, check the Windows Search Service and click Next until the installation button can be clicked. Click the Install button. Just wait for this installation. After successfully installing, you can just close the window. After doing that installation, go to the library again to the new drive created a while ago. Click this PC and then the new drive called New Volume. Click Users, right-click the cashier folder and click Properties. Click the tab Sharing and then Advanced Sharing. Check the share folder and choose the permission for the client. Click the Remove button to erase the everyone permission and click Add to Customize. And click Advance. Click Find Now and find the domain user and select it, then click OK. Check the Allow to Full Control, apply, then click OK. Click Caching and select No Files, then click OK. Apply again, and then OK. Then close all the windows. Now, go to the Tools tab again and click File Server Resource Manager. Go to File Screening Manager, select File Screen, and then create File Screening. Here, select the path for the file screening, which is the cashier folder under the new volume. Select it, then click OK. After that, select the custom properties and here, select the files to be blocked, which is the office files and system files. Click OK, create, and then save the custom file screen. Then click OK. And now, new file screening are created. Next, go to the Active Directory users via the Tools tab. Right-click the domain, hover the New tab, and then click Organizational Unit. Here, put the folder name, which is the cashier. And then click OK. Then, after that, just close it and go to the group policy management and then configure it. Under the forest of the domain, you can find the cashier folder there. Right-click it and create a GPO which is named folder redirection. After that, click OK. Edit it and go to the policies to the folder redirection. Here, we can restrict folders for the clients for monitoring for the server. Click Properties and select the basic settings. The root path is the server name and the folder, and no need to click the Browse button. To check if it is the correct path, it will appear in the search bar. And there it is. It appears, so it is correct. After that, click Apply. Then, click Yes. In the Settings tab, uncheck the first row, then click Apply, Yes, then OK. Do this step on every folder that you want to monitor. Click Basic, the root path, Apply, Yes, the settings again, uncheck the first row, click Apply, Yes, then OK. And do that also on the download folder. Then, after that, just close all the windows.
To create a client, go to the Active Directory users and computers. Under the domain, right-click the user folder, hover the domain name, right-click the cashier folder, then hover to New, then select User. It will show a new object user prompt, and we'll fill it up with the necessary information for each user accounts. So here we will create 4 users to accommodate our 4 team members. So let's enter the password. Then check the password never expires checkbox. And click Next. Then click Finish. And we will repeat these steps again for all the remaining members. Again, New, then User. And we'll fill with the information about the user. Click Next, then enter the password for the account. Then click Password never expires. Click Next, then click Finish. The second client has been created. So let's repeat it again. enter the necessary information. Then we'll click next. Click next. We'll enter the password. So we'll enter the password for this account. Then check the password never expires checkbox and hit next and click finish. So repeat it again for the last time. Enter the information needed. And click next. Enter the password for the user. And check the password never expires checkbox. And hit next, then finish. You successfully created 4 users. Before we can test the client's connection with the server, let's first configure the client's PC so that it can connect to the domain of the server. So let's go to library and right click this PC and right click this PC, then hit properties and then click change settings, then change. We will change the domain to group4.com so that it will connect to our server's domain. Click OK. A prompt will show that will be that a administrator account is needed. Just enter the administrator account of the server so that it can proceed. And it will prompt you to restart the computer so that the changes will be made and saved. So now let's log in to a user that has been created in the server. So click the other users, then fill in the information that we have created in the server. So we'll use Mark's account for this one. Let's enter the password. Notice that the sign in says group 4, which means we are currently connected to the domain of the server. Now let's wait for this to log in. As you can see in the server, a folder has been created for Mark Daniel, a personalized folder. When we opened it, we can see that the folders that we configured to be monitored are included inside, which is the desktop, documents, and downloads. And let's wait for the client PC to load. Let's open desktop, so we can test. We can test if the monitoring is working. So in the client's PC, we'll create a new folder to test the server's connection. And there you have it. The new folder has appeared to the server. Let's modify the name, and it will be modified also in the server. It will be modified in real time in the client's PCs. So when we delete the folder from the client PC, is also going to be deleted in the server. For the last checking or testing, I might say, we will test the connection of the client's PC and the server using the command prompt command ping. So let's go to command prompt. Okay, let's type ping server. You can see we are getting responses from the server. Let's type ping and the IP of the domain, and we have successfully pinged the server. That conclude the presentation for group 4. Thank you very much.